Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class, which is from Canto 1, Chapter 17, Punishment and Reward of Kali. text 38. And we're fortunate this morning that the class is being given by His Grace Vishnugada Prabhu from ISKCON, Philadelphia. Hare Krishna, Prabhu,
Hare
with that,
Krishna.
please accept the humble obeisances. All
Vancha
glories to Srila
kalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhye vacha patitanam
Titanam,
pavanebhyo
Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavibhyo, Namo Namaha. It's all yours.
On the revised schedule, it was Srimad Bhagavatam 117:37.
Okay.
I don't know.
It is 37.
Okay.
All right. So
You
I
just
have
go
to.
back.
Yeah. That's not difficult to do. Here you go.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Jaya
Gopi Jana
Vallabha
Girivaradhari.
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Jaya
Gopi
Gopi
Jana
Janavallabha
Girivaradhari.
Jashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana.
Jashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana.
Jamuna Tira Vanachari
Yamuna Tira Vanachari.
Jamuna Tira Vanachari
Yamuna Tira Vanachari.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Giridhari
Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana
Nandana
Jamuna Tira Vanachari
Yamuna
Yamuna
Tira Vanachari
Vanachari.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya
Jaya
Radha
Radha
Madhava
Madhava
Kunja Bihari.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha
Radha
Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paribrajak Acharya Ashtotara Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paribrajak Acharya Ashtotara Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Ananta Koti Vaishnavrind Ki Jai.
Jai.
ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Naam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai.
Jai.
Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai.
Jai.
Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai.
Jai.
Vrindavan Dham ki jai.
Jai.
Navadvip Mayapur Dham ki jai.
Jai.
Ganga Mai ki jai.
Jai.
Jamuna Mai ki jai.
Jai.
Tulsi Devi ki jai.
Jai.
Bhakti Devi ki jai.
Jai.
Shramaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaur Premanande.
Hari Hari Bol.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glory to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga Hari Hari Bol. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Shami Iti Namane. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirbhishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 17th chapter, 37th verse. Tanme dharma britang shrestha stanam nirdishtam arhasi yatraiva navat niyato vatsya atishtangste nushashanam. Tanme dharma britang shrestha stanam nirdishtam arhasi yatraiva niyato vatsya atishtangste nushasanam. Tanme dharma britang shrestha stanam nirdishtam arhasi yatraiva niyato vatsya atishtangste nushasanam. This chant.
Tanme dharma bhitam shrestha tanam nidrishtum arhasi yatreva niyato vatsya adishtam ste nushasanam. Hare Krishna.
Tanme dharma britam shrestha stanam nirdeshtum arhasi yatraiva niyato vatsya atistam te nushasanam. Hare Krishna.
Tanme dharma bhutam shrestha sthanam nirdeshtum arhasi yatraiva niyato vatsya atistam ste anushasanam. Hare Krishna.
Would anyone else like to try chanting the verse? Even if it's not exactly right. No? Okay. But, therefore, me, Dharma Britam, of all the protectors of religion, Shrestha, O chief, Stanam, place, Nirdeshtum, fix, Arhasi, may you do so, Yatra, where, Eva, certainly, Niyata, always, Vatsye, can reside, Atishtan, permanently situated, Te, your, Anushasanam, under your rule. Translation. Therefore, O chief amongst the protectors of religion, please fix some place for me where I can live permanently under the protection of your government. Purport. The personality of Kali addressed Maharaj Parikshit as the chief amongst the protectors of religiosity because the king refrained from killing a person who surrendered unto him. A surrendered soul should be given all protection, even though he may be an enemy. That is the principle of religion. And we can just imagine what sort of protection is given by the personality of Godhead to the person who surrenders unto him, not as an enemy, but as a devoted servitor. The Lord protects the surrendered soul from all sins and all resultant reactions of sinful acts. Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter, 66th verse. Om Agyana Timirantasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Udmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtang Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gata Mahyam Dadati Shapandantikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Before speaking, I'd like to request permission from all the devotees, and particularly those who may be more advanced in years or in advanced in devotional service, or both. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu.
This is, who's speaking here? Do you know who's
Kali.
speaking?
This is Kali, the personality
Kali.
of Kali.
Yes. Kali, as opposed to Kali. Kali and Kali, right? Kali is another form of Durga, and Kali speaking. And the circumstances, as you're well aware, you've been doing this part of the Srimad Bhagavatam for some time, is that Kali personified was beating the legs of a cow and a bull. Bull is considered religion personified. So that was quite a heinous act. Of course, now in human society, those acts are, and worse, are done on the millions of times every week and month and year. But anyway, in this time, during Maharaj Parikshit's reign, this was something quite unusual, killing or attempting to destroy a cow and a bull in his kingdom. So Maharaj Parikshit was ready to kill Kali personified for that act. But Kali surrendered to Maharaj Parikshit, as you know. And so this is subsequent to his surrender to Maharaj Parikshit. So this word, surrender, is a very interesting word. You know, before coming to Krishna consciousness, I usually encountered the word. Maybe you know, where did you encounter that word before coming to Krishna consciousness? Being aware of that. What do you think?
War.
What's that?
In the war.
Yeah. Almost always, surrender occurred when two warring parties, there was some conflict, and after some time, one party, army, nation became victorious over the other. And so then the heads of both places, or the heads of the armed forces of both nations or parties, would come together and they would negotiate terms of surrender. You know this. So there's two different parties and they have different objectives, different goals, and they want to have different, they're warring over usually the use of territory or resources. So then at a certain point, one admits defeat, and then the terms of surrender are written down. For example, any examples of that? Come on.
The Japanese surrendered.
Yeah, when in Second World War.
Second World War, after they got bombed twice.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. So, some historians, and there's good evidence to support it, say that, the Japanese during the Second World War with the American and other allies, they had offered terms of surrender prior to the dropping of the atomic bombs, that. And one of those requests was that their king, emperor, would remain at least in a titular situation so that he could be. But prior to the bomb being dropped, the United States rejected that condition. They said, no. Unconditional surrender. You can't dictate the terms of the surrender. We say you do what we say completely. That's it. So they rejected that offer of ending the war. Then they bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And then you know what happened when the final armistice peace was signed?
I think they allowed the emperor to be emperor anyway.
Yes.
They finally went back on their word.
So some people argue that really the whole point was that they wanted to drop the atomic bomb. So the point is, though, of course, this is a little history. Well, the point is that surrender, sometimes there's conditions. Other examples. When the French had a colony in Southeast Asia, which became known as Vietnam. And prior to the American war there was a French occupation there. And then the people there wanted a different form of government, or what they call freedom. So they rebelled against the French occupation. And there was a long war there. Some famous battles occurred, Dien Bien Phu and all. So then after some time, it looked like the French were getting defeated. So they signed a peace treaty, surrender. They surrendered, but there was a condition. You know what the condition was? Okay, the condition was that there'll be a division of Vietnam, North Vietnam, South Vietnam, for a certain period of years. I don't remember the exact number of years. And then after that period, there will be a election to unify both South and North Vietnam. That was the condition that was placed before the Peace Commission, requested by the French and backed by the Americans. So there was a surrender of the French, but that was the condition. Of course, later that was not observed, that was ignored. And so that led to the Vietnam War. Also, one of the United States presidents, the president after in the United States after Johnson in the 19th century was Grant, and his first two initials are, American history. Come on, Ulysses S. Grant or U.S. Grant, U.S. Grant, because he was a general during the Civil War, and so he got a reputation when he would fight against opposing armies, that he would not accept any conditions from them from surrender. Therefore, U.S. Grant, they would say jokingly or seriously, unconditional surrender grant. Unconditional surrender grant. Yeah. So anyway, when the North was victorious over the South in the Civil War, the South requested certain conditions and the North rejected it, and they made conditions of surrender. And one of those conditions of surrender was that there, of course, slavery would be abolished and that there would be an occupying army put in the South in different ways to ensure that the same kind of slavery and discrimination against the African American people there was not done in a different way. So that was a condition. The condition of the surrender was there. Of course, the South refused, or they were tried to get away from that, but and they did shortly thereafter. But at least that was the agreement at the time of surrender. So here we have, even though, think about this, even though Kali was an offender, he was assaulted this cow and the bull, who were religion personified, right? Mother Earth and religion personified. And it looks like he's getting away with that assault. He's not being punished, right? It seems that way. And that's a principle of religion. So that's very interesting. Very interesting. How does he get away with the karma of beating the cow and the bull? The question, you understand the question?
Because he surrendered himself, and a surrendered person is not supposed, it's to be given protection if he requests.
Is that right? Is that right? Yeah.
Well,
say if I'm a criminal, and I surrender to the police, hands up. I mean, do they treat me differently? What do
well,
you say?
They wouldn't kill, but they will arrest. They will arrest, but they won't kill.
Yes. Ideally, they wouldn't kill, right? Ideally, they wouldn't kill. Maybe they will, but depending on who they are and stuff like that. But yes, so even in secular law administration, a person who might be a murderer, if they throw themselves in the mercy of the court and they cooperate with the prosecution, they'll usually get a lesser sentence, isn't it?
Yeah.
They'll get a lesser sentence than if they continue to fight. So they fight the charges and they go to court and they have a long trial, and then they'll be sentenced to death or life imprisonment. But if they cooperate, then they might get 10 years or 12 years or something like that. So yeah, so there's, even within regular law enforcement, somebody who surrenders to the authorities, they're treated somewhat differently, although still they don't get away with punishment. They don't get free from punishment, but the punishment might be reduced. Do you agree with that? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah.
It happens usually. Yeah.
Plea bargaining. Sometimes.
Yeah, all that stuff goes on.
To supply more information about the case. Plea bargaining.
But I'm talking, plea bargaining is, they're cooperating with the people. Yeah, they're cooperating with the government or the prosecutors. So okay. So here, who's making the conditions for Kali? Who's making the conditions for the surrender?
Maharaj Pariksha?
Yes. So Kali's saying, I'm surrendering to you, but please give me a place to stay. Please give me a place to stay. And Maharaj Parikshit is going to, we'll see in the next couple of verses, he's going to propose some places for Kali to stay. Usually when there's a criminal who gets arrested or gets caught, the place to stay is prison, right?
Yeah, dear.
Yeah. But here in this case, it didn't. It's not prison. He's given a few places to live. And that's very interesting. Why that is, could he have been put in? Did they have prisons in those days?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, sure they did. Sure they did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sure they did. Devaki and Vasudev.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, certainly they had prisons. So for some reason, I mean, Kali was some kind of special character, but for some reason he was just like a person is put in prison, they're restricted in their movements, right? And they can only be in certain places. So in some senses, Parikshit Maharaj will be restricting Kali's ability to travel freely and independently, just anywhere he wants, but he's going to restrict him to certain places. So, but this, even though it's a religious principle to give protection, and in this case, to give a place to live, to a surrendered soul, this practice comes back to be cause difficulty, isn't it? Does that ever happen before that you're aware of in the Vedic system, in the history that we know? Srimad Bhagavatam, Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita. Anybody?
Kind of lost the question, if you don't mind repeating.
Yeah,
please.
sure. So in this case, we'll see in the future that Kali comes back to influence a son of a Brahmin, isn't it? So
Yeah.
his leniency, Parikshit Maharaj's leniency with Kali comes back, and it was, of course, that's the will of the Lord, but it came back to cause difficulty. And I'm wondering if there are other situations where that might have occurred. Do you follow the question?
Yes, I do now. I don't remember any of them.
Hopefully it doesn't happen with us devotees in Krishna consciousness, right? Okay, surrender, and then we come back to assault the spiritual master. That does happen sometimes. You follow what I'm saying? Anyway, but there was you probably know in the 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there was a king, and he had different names. Saudas was one name, and Kalmasapada was another name. So he was a devotee of the Lord. But in his rule, he fought against a rival king, and he was victorious, and he killed the king. But the brother of the king surrendered to him. You remember this? And so that brother, because the brother surrendered to him, he gave the brother protection. He didn't kill him. And later, that brother got a job in the king's, Kalmasapada's kitchen. You remember this?
I don't know that story, no.
Yeah, it's in 9th canto. So anyway, Kalmasapada, even though he's a devotee, he later his guru was named Vashishta Muni, came to visit. So Vashishta Muni, when he came to visit, of course, what's the thing you do when somebody visits your home, a great saint or otherwise? You'll give them some refreshment. So Kalmasapada called to his kitchen, said, "Say, please prepare something nice to welcome, something nice, eatables for my guru." So the dead king's brother, the rival king's brother, was there in the kitchen, and in the food that he prepared in the kitchen for Vashishta Muni, he included some human flesh. You don't remember this? So then he gave it to Kalmasapada to present to Vashishta Muni. Vashishta Muni, with his mystic vision, could understand there was human flesh cooked into this food, and he immediately became angry, and he cursed Kalmasapada, right? He said, you're trying to make me a Rakshasa. Well, you'll become a Rakshasa. So he was cursed to become a Rakshasa. Very interesting. So this kind of surrender, surrender just to get away from the consequences, and to live again, to fight another day, is not the kind of surrender that we're advised to practice or follow in the Krishna consciousness movement in terms of our relationship to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So Srila Prabhupada in the purport points out the difference. There's a difference here with surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is described in the 18th chapter, 66th verse by Lord Krishna in his advice and his instructions to Arjuna. He says there, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mam. How does it go?
Mam Ekam Sharanam Braja.
Mam Ekam Sharanam Braja. Then?
Only me.
Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo. I'm going to free you from all different kinds of sins, all paps. Mokshiyashyami Masucha. Don't worry. So I thought, we could read this purport to 1866 because it gives some direction about what does it mean to surrender in terms of the Krishna consciousness movement or advancement in spiritual life. We're not talking about this kind of surrender, the topic of surrender, but what is spiritual surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead look like? You follow? Okay. So here's the purport to that verse. Lord Krishna says, abandon all varieties of religion and surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So the purport is the Lord has described various kinds of knowledge and processes of religion. Knowledge of the Supreme Brahman, knowledge of the Supersoul, knowledge of the different types of orders and statuses of life, knowledge of the renounced order of life, knowledge of non-attachment, sense and mind control, meditation, etc. He has described in so many ways different types of religion. Now, in summarizing Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that Arjuna should give up all the processes that have been explained to him. He should simply surrender to Krishna. That surrender will save him from all kinds of sinful reactions, for the Lord personally promises to protect him. In the 7th chapter, it is said that only one who has become free from all sinful reactions can take to the worship of Lord Krishna. Thus, one may think that unless he is free from all sinful reactions, he cannot take to the surrendering process. To such doubts, it is here said that even if one is not free from all sinful reactions, simply by the process of surrendering to Krishna, he is automatically freed. There is no need of strenuous effort to free oneself from sinful reactions. One should unhesitatingly accept Krishna as the supreme savior of all living entities. With faith and love, one should surrender unto him. And the process of surrender is described in the Hari Bhakti Vilas. So you know the process of surrender? The process of surrender is described in the Hari Bhakti Vilas. It's also described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Same verse. You know that process? Come on. I enjoy, testing you. I know that you know most of these things, but still, it's kind of fun. Testing. Okay.
We chant the holy name for one.
Yes, ultimately, yes. But here in this purport, Srila Prabhupada quotes the Hari Bhakti Vilas, Anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam rakshiyasyati vishvaso gopatripve varanam tata atmanikshepakarpanye shadvidha sharanagati. The last word sharanagati means sharana means sharan, means shelter, and gati means the goal of the shelter. So this is description of what the process of surrender is. So the first anukalyasya sankalpa, pratikulyasya vardhanam. You know this? What is that? What are those first two? You've heard these before. Sometimes they're cited as the 6 symptoms of surrender. Have you heard that before? Yes, 6 symptoms of surrender.
Prabhu, is one of it unfavorable and favorable?
Yes, that's the same idea. Usually it's translated anukulyasya sankalpa, means it's often translated accepting everything beneficial for devotional service, right? And rejecting things that are detrimental to devotional service. So accepting things beneficial for devotional service. Do you have any examples of that in your own Krishna conscious life? We have so when we make decisions in our lives, we have so many different considerations. We have financial considerations, considerations for what our association is, consideration of many different things. So this verse is saying the most important consideration is what is going to be most beneficial for devotional service. You follow? So anybody would like to comment on that?
We can rise early in the morning and chant
Yes.
the holy name.
Yes. Accepting that because that's beneficial. Later in the day, if you're like me and many others, I'm sure, we get distracted. And so we get, and then the quality of our japa will usually be less later in the day. So Srila Prabhupada often, he liked devotees to get up early, rise early, and chant in the early morning hours. And there's a nice instruction by Giriraj Maharaj in his book, I'll Build You a Temple. And very many nice instructions in that book. But one of them was, he was talking about how certain devotees used to, push him to go early in the morning to go collect Lakshmi for the temple, the building of the new temple. But he made it a vow that he would never go out until he had finished at least 12 rounds, And that was good for him. So he would make sure that at least, he would, chanting during the day he'd do about at least 12 rounds in the morning before going out, sometimes very early. Sometimes you have to think, well, should I move to this place or move to that place? In this place, there's association of devotees, and in that location, there's none. So one might consider that depending on the situation, even though at location 1, you get a bigger salary, but if your devotion, your association is less or not existent or limited, then it might be a better idea to go to a place where there's better association or more full association. Yes. Thank you, dear Krishna. Good point. He says, I know of a few devotees who don't take a promotion at their job because it'll be disturbing to their devotional service. Yeah. So yeah, accepting things beneficial, that's the yardstick we can try to use in making decisions, and rejecting things detrimental. So how do we know what's detrimental? How do we know what's beneficial? Well, that's the instruction of the spiritual master, the instruction of the Shastras. We have there's so many instructions we know in Upadesha Amrita. There's Atyahara prayashascha prajalpo niyamagraha janasangascha lolyam cha shadbir bhakti vinashyati. Atyahara, eating too much or collecting too much. I have to say, this is my mother, bless her soul. She was a collector. She had collections of unlimited different things. The whole house was full of collections, and even people couldn't live there because of all the collections. So it's a fact. You collect things, so then your mind has to be your mind is stuck in that, collecting too much or eating too much. Prayashas, over endeavor. Atyahara prajalpo, talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters. Prajalpo niyamagraha, not following rules and regulations, or following them without understanding the purpose behind them. Yeah, so niyamagraha, janasanga, too much association, taking too much association with worldly minded people. Janasangas, chaloliam, greed. These things kill devotional service. Yeah, and things that dadati, pratigrinnati, guya makyati, pichtiti, bunkti bojayate, chaiva shadvidham pratilakshanam. These things are beneficial for devotional service. Yeah, giving in charity, exchanging gifts, and accepting gifts from the devotees. Dadati, guya makyati, pichtiti, talking confidentially, revealing one's mind. Bhunkti bojayate, taking prasad and accepting prasad, giving prasad. These things are nourish our devotional service. So, okay, anukulyasya sankapa and pratikulyasya varjanam. So, accepting things that are beneficial, rejecting things that are detrimental to devotional service. And other things. So, just like we'll see in this story, in this pastime, I should say, that Maharaj Parikshit is going to give certain conditions for Kali's surrender in his place of his living place. Similarly, when devotees surrender to their spiritual master, and by doing so surrender to Krishna, there's some restrictions put on. Okay, here are the conditions. These are the conditions of surrender. What are those conditions of surrender? No meat eating, no illicit sex, no intoxication, no gambling. Conditions of surrender, and chanting minimum 16 rounds daily, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Conditions. That's the victor is putting conditions on the loser, not the other way around. So, or the powerful person, the winner. So then, then the next thing, the next symptom of surrender is rakshishyatiti vishvaso. Vishvaso, that means that one has firm faith that Lord Krishna is your protector. So what's the result of that? No fear. If you actually believe that Lord Krishna he's in charge of everything, and he protects me, he's protecting me, there's no fear. Yeah. Then not only he's the protector, but he's the maintainer. He maintains you. Okay, so let me read Srila Prabhupada's translation or summary translation of this in that purport. Okay, so this is the process of surrender. According to the devotional process, one should simply accept religious principles that will lead ultimately to the devotional service of the Lord. So that's the first one, anukalyasya. One may perform a particular occupational duty according to his position in the social order, but if by executing his duty, one does not come to the point of Krishna consciousness, all his activities are in vain. Anything that does not lead to the perfectional stage of Krishna consciousness should be avoided. Then one should be confident that in all circumstances, Krishna will protect him from all difficulties. There is no need of thinking how one should keep the body and soul together. That's the maintenance. That's the next one. Goptitve varanam tata. There's no need of thinking how one should keep the body and soul together. Krishna will see to that. This is the purport of 1866. One should always think himself helpless. And should consider Krishna the only basis for his progress in life. That's the one, Atma Nikshepa Karpanye, which sometimes is translated as to be surrendered. And this is a little tricky for me. I don't know if you understand, but we're talking about the symptoms of surrender. And then if one of the symptoms of surrender is that you're surrendered, it's kind of a little funny, right? Does it make sense? So here are the symptoms of surrender. One of them is you're surrendered. What is that? How do you explain that? How do you explain that? So sometimes here Prabhupada talks about it feeling helpless without Krishna's, helpless, surrender, feeling helpless. So I tried to look up this word. The word is Atma Nikshepa Karpanye. You know that last word, Karpanye. Have you ever heard that word before? Karpanye? Karpanye? Come on. Sure, you know that verse in Bhagavad Gita, the 2nd chapter, 7th verse. Karpanya. There it is. Bhagavad Gita, yes. Karpanya dosho pahatasvabhava prichami tam dharma samu. So Karpanya means miserly. I'm feeling weak. I'm feeling helpless. Karpanya dosho. And Atma what was that? Atma Nikshepa. Atma Nikshepa is Nikshepa is Atma is the self, of course, and Nikshepa. I looked around and I did a search of the Veda base for the word Nikshepa, and it only came up in that context of this verse of the 6 symptoms of surrender. So then I did a Wikipedia search of the Nikshepa word. Nikshepa, it's something, it has a connotation of you're giving your deposit you're giving a full deposit in like a bank account. Isn't it weird? Isn't that interesting? Atma Nikshepa. You're giving your full deposit in your bank account to Krishna, and you're feeling helpless without. So anyway, something like that. Some of those connotations, so that kind of fills out this idea of surrendering, being surrendered. And then the last one is always feeling oneself meek and humble. That is Atma Nikshepa Karpanye. That's Karpanye. Yeah, always feeling oneself meek and humble. Shadvidha Sharanagati. These are the 6 symptoms of surrender. And Lord Krishna promises, you surrender to me, I'll protect you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So sometimes Srila Prabhupada would say, Lord Krishna, he demanded, and at the end of Bhagavad Gita, he demanded that people surrender to him. But people didn't understand his instructions. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came and he gave the same instruction, but a little bit differently. The same instruction. He said, chant Hare Krishna. Same instruction, but chant Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Same instruction, he said. Srila Prabhupada said that. Always feel oneself meek and humble. So what were the 6 symptoms? Who can tell me the 6 symptoms of surrender? Come on. At least one. Come on. One.
To believe that Krishna is our protector.
Yes, to not only believe it, but to have firm vishvasa, firm faith. Yes.
One,
What
and
else?
the other one, Prabhu, is to accept favorable principles for our growth and devotional service and reject the
Yes,
unfavorable
yes.
principles.
Yes. Anything else? Not only Krishna is our protector, but also our maintainer, right? Maintainer. And the last one was what? Feeling oneself
Surrender.
feeling oneself meek and humble, and feeling
Humility. Humility.
Yeah, and then the one was this surrender, atma nikshepa, nikshepa, atma nikshepa was surrendered and feeling helpless. Yeah, both those things. So, and this process of surrender, sharanagati, is called sharanagati. It's also one of the. Yesterday we celebrated the very auspicious anniversary of the appearance of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So he wrote a book called Sharanagati. You know that. And in that, there's a very nice bhajan that we sometimes sing. You might know that bhajan. It goes, and it's under the title Sharanagati. Manasa deho geho jokichumor arpiluntua pode nandakishore. Do you understand? This is Bengali. Manasa means my mind. We've got a mind. My deha, my body, my geha, my home, jokichumor, whatever I have, arpiluntua pode nandakishore. I'm offering at your feet. You're my mind, my body, my home, whatever I have. Arpiluntua pode nandakishore. I'm offering to you, nandakishore. Sampade vipade. Sampade means in good fortunes. Vipade means in trouble, vipade. Jivana marane, in life and at death. Daya mama gela tu o padavarane. I'm just searching for your mercy. Yes. Marobi rakobi. You might kill me. Marobi means you might kill me. Rakobi means, you might protect me. As jo icha, whatever you want. Kill me, protect me. This is reminiscent of the Christianity. They have the Lord's Prayer, right? Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done. Yes, as you like, any way you want. And Lord Chaitanya also said similar. Ashlishya vapadaritam panashtumam madarshana marmahatang karotu va yatata tata vidutatu lampato mat prananata sasu eva napara. I don't know anybody except Krishna as my Lord, and he shall always remain as such, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, which he sometimes does. He sometimes will do that. And may make me brokenhearted by not being present before me. But he's always my worshipful. He can do anything and everything, but he's always my worshipful Lord unconditionally. So, Marobi, Rakobi, Jo Ichatohar, Nityadas, I'm still your eternal servant. Tuya Adikar, and I will do that service. Then goes the fourth verses. Janma obimoy, Icha Jadito. You know that? Janma, if I have to be reborn, Icha, if that's your desire, Icha Jadito. Bhakta Grihe, let me be born in the house of a devotee. Bhakti Gehe, Jani Haomo. Kita Janma. Kita means an insect. I'd prefer to be born as an insect. Think of this. Kita Janma Yachatu Yadas. Even an insect in the house of your devotee. Bahiramoka Brahma Janme Nahi Ash. But I won't take even a Brahma non-devotee birth. I don't want. Janaka Janani Doite Tanoi, Prabhu Guru Pati Tuhun Sarvamoy. You're my mother, father, preceptor. You're everything to me. Then Bhaktivinoda prays like that. Bhaktivinoda Kohe Shunokana. Oh, Bhaktivinoda prays. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur prays. Oh, listen, please hear my prayer. Kana, Krishna. Radhanath. Oh, Lord of Radha. Hamara Paran. You are my life, everything. So that's those are practically described symptoms of surrender, as mentioned, the process of surrender by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Hare Krishna. We'll try to do
Thank
this.
you very much, Prabhu, for very, very nice lecture, very instructive, definitely interactive. And Devotees, if you have any questions, takeaways, please unmute yourself and ask the questions. I have one question to ask you, Prabhu. The 6 exchanges of love, which you talked about in the Nectar of Instruction, gift exchange, prasadam exchange, and also exchange of, talking confidentially. That question. The question is about this last one.
Yeah.
Devotees sometimes are a little hesitant to open up confidentially to people because they can't be quite sure that whatever they talk about will not be a subject of gossip for others to hear. You have any suggestions to get around that situation? A person who fears that.
Well, I mean, that's an interesting question because number one, I'm in my material occupation is a psychologist, and in psychology, you've got very, very strict guidelines that you can't reveal what somebody says to you to anyone, unless there's a couple of exceptions. If they're going to kill themselves, then you have to reveal but not just as much as required to keep the person safe. Not everything about him, but just that. And or if they're going to seriously injure somebody else, then you have to do that. Yeah. So and why do they have that? Why do they have that guideline and rule? And actually, you can, be kicked out of the profession if you violate it, because that to foster people to be able to disclose what they're going through, either in thinking or they're doing. So it fosters that. So that's an important element of the exchange, is you have trust that the person won't misuse the information that you got, that you're exchanging with them. And it sometimes is, in ISKCON, it's it's a matter of trust that has to be developed. How do you know? Well, in fact, I proposed that as a guideline for ISKCON gurus in one conference we had, because disciples, they should be able to reveal their heart, their mind, and their, to their guru, so the guru knows exactly what's going on. It was met with mixed response, but that's a part of being able to disclose, is that that the person's not going to use it against you or spread it to the greater group of people. Of course, someone who's actually saintly, pure, they have no problem. But the problem is that many of us are not so pure, and we have areas we have to make progress in. So my suggestion was that at least with some people, that guideline should be upheld pretty strongly. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, in my own case, I revealed my mind initially to my Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Maharaj, especially because he talked about any and all kinds of subjects. So it's like I got a sense that he's heard it all anyways.
Yes.
It wasn't difficult. And then I got advice from him also, which is great.
Yes. But just like anybody, that if they want to help you, they got to know what your position is. Like in my job, I tell people, listen, I've got to ask you a lot of questions, and I'm going to be nosy. Because why? Because in order to help, I have to know what's going on. But I tell them, I can't tell anybody outside of, this situation, what you tell me, unless you were going to kill somebody, which has happened sometimes. People tell me they're going to kill somebody. Anyway, but that fosters open disclosures, and which is healthy, for both. So you had that experience, good experience with Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, and he was
Yeah.
able to you were able to trust him for that reason.
Through his
So-
lectures, I had heard enough to realize that he knew a lot about what people were doing, so, and the advice that was coming was very good. So I just opened up to him. Then,
Yeah. So, for example, Srila Prabhupada was very sensitive to that issue too. There was a devotee, I won't give names, but he used to be the GBC in Australia. And at a certain point, he had a fall down. So some of the leaders, they broadcast it. And Prabhupada was very disturbed that they would broadcast it. He said, now you'll make it much more difficult for him to still practice Krishna consciousness because of what you're saying. So at that time, people didn't have that sense that this is what's confidential, what should be personal, and what should be, part of the grist mill for everybody to know. So it's going to be a personal thing. Hopefully you can be that way with your spiritual master, with Srila Prabhupada, your own spiritual master, and some devotees that you can trust, that at least it's good to be able to reveal your mind to make progress. And that's one of the things that nourishes our spiritual growth, is to be able to reveal your mind. Where am I right now? How do I have to, here's where I am. How do I make progress? That's very important. Thanks for the question.
Hare Krishna. In other times too, I was able to open up to one devotee, Mataji, who's a senior devotee, definitely to me, because Krishna arranged for some topics that she brought up in her class, also Zoom class. That gave me the sense of, okay, she had some knowledge, and then I, off the class, I called her and then revealed my mind even more to her about it, because she knew.
Yeah, so that's a boon to our spiritual life, to have people we can confide in that way, mature, sensitive, cautious devotees.
Prabhu, I have a question. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry to interrupt if you're not done, Prabhu.
No, I'm done.
Prabhu, I
I'm
have a
also done.
question, just piggybacking on Parikshit's question. Is I was also again, reflecting on Bhaktivedanta Swami's classes in the past. He said that sometimes when I'm sorry, Hare Krishna, when devotees are not able to trust, it can also mean that they themselves have trust issues, that they also have a trust issue, like they can't keep confidential stuff to them. And I used to always wonder about that, because there was a situation, without mentioning names, about a year or two ago. There was one devotee who did not want to reveal at that time that she was pregnant. And another person couldn't hold the tongue and revealed it. And on top of that, said that I'm not supposed to tell you, but I'm telling you. But it's that same person that cannot reveal his or her mind in confidence to anyone else. So it's like a two-way street, trust issue.
Yes, there's a comment. Yes. Well, we'll be very frank. All of us have trust issues. Every single one of us. And the main trust issue we have is we don't trust Krishna.
Yes.
Yeah, the number one trust. But sure, we And trust is something that you can develop by doing service together with devotees. And if you're not going to trust immediately, day one and say trust this person, and you're not going to be able, it develops naturally by having relations. So in so.
So Prabhu, how can we overcome that? Because, like, for example, like in this case, the person said, please don't share with anybody, but you share it with somebody knowing that it's not supposed to be told, but you yourself have that trust issue. So it's like, why reveal someone else's trust? Like, how can we really understand the importance of maintaining the trust when someone is entrusting us? If I'm making sense in my question, Prabhu.
Well, it's a little complex, that question. You got it from, say, whoever that person was that was pregnant, but didn't want others to know, but revealed to someone.
Yeah,
Yeah. So that person, I mean, just to throw your personal stuff out to the world is not necessarily a healthy thing either.
right.
It's not necessarily healthy. So I wouldn't necessarily say the person has a trust issue. When you say a trust issue, I mean there's something wrong with that trust. I mean it's reasonable, that for whatever reason, say I don't know the situation, but for whatever reason that the person didn't want that to be real to everybody. But so then probably it would be important to know. Oh, so I really appreciate that you revealed that to me. So could you tell me a little bit about how come you trusted me enough to hear what you had to say, and what are you worried about might happen if other people know? I'm going to keep your confidence, but what do you think is going to happen? And the person may have had many different experiences in the past of being humiliated in this way or that way, and then so you might work with that. But, that's all. It's kind of on the psychological plane.
Prabhu, my second question, Prabhu, is what are the dangers in one's devotional life to not be able to reveal one's mind in confidence in terms of, like you said, am I growing? Am I, advancing? Am I learning in my Krishna consciousness? If we do not have that quote unquote forum or someone that we can trust or confide or really reveal to help us grow, what are the dangers, Prabhu, by not doing that?
Well, we'll have weeds will grow up, and we'll hide them, or we won't be able to address them honestly. Devotional, weeds may be in all kinds of different forms of deviations from devotional service that will ultimately, down the line, they'll choke our progress in Krishna consciousness.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, Hare Krishna. Are there any other questions from other devotees? It's already gone past the 9 o'clock hour, but this is a very lively and important discussion, especially the questions coming up. Any other? Okay. If there's no more from devotees, then thank you very much, Vishnugada Prabhu, for a very, very lively lecture. So much we got to learn.
Can I say something? Is it okay? Very quickly. Vishnugada Prabhu, we are humbly begging at your lotus feet to please, if you could come to our Kirtan program on October 21st.
I got your invitation, and what's going on right now is because, the Philadelphia Rath Yatra on that day, that appointed day was canceled. And so the only other day that's available is October 21st. But I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't know. They haven't. So it'll depend on whether the city will accept a transfer, or do we have to pay again for the permits? Because the permits in Philadelphia are very, very expensive. So if the city is willing to transfer the fees that we paid for the permit to the October 21st date, they may decide, Philadelphia may decide to have a Rath Yatra on that date. And that's the only date that the city has available. So I haven't responded for that reason, and I apologize for that. But it was supposed to be a decision made on Monday. It wasn't made. It wasn't made yesterday. It wasn't made today. So I don't know when it's going to be made. But but thank you for the invitation. And if it's not that way, I'll come.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Just wanted to
Thank
just check. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyevacha patitana pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Thank you very much, everybody. Have a nice rest of your week. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Mataji.